My name is NonStopAntonio, and today we're going to be talking about Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 10. This episode is titled Collision Course, and it deals with a lot of character development yet again, but also adding some cool moments during it. I feel like this season's missing a lot of Superman action, but I feel like in the next 3 episodes, we're about to get a lot of it. So let's jump into my breakdown and review for Superman and Lois, Episode 10. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. I'm finding this season is a little slower than the other ones, with a lot less twists and turns during it. Like last season, we had Bizarro, and that was a big shocking moment. There's a lot of like what's going on during the first few episodes of the season, and even adding so much more interest by the end of it. However, I feel like the season is doing a lot for more story-wise when it comes to Lois's character, Clarke, John Henry Irons, and then Bruno Mannheim and everything going on with him. Like, there's a lot of good character moments during this season, but I feel like there's less action and less superhero stuff than I feel like there should be. However, the story is still great, and I really like what they're doing. Like how the episode starts off with Lois finishing her chemo, and now she just has to get her surgery, and she'll be cancer-free. Kind of concluding that story before the end of the season, but she's done such a great job this season as well, portraying the struggle she's going through while she has cancer, and I really like how it's been dealt with. However, because that's been the main focus of the season, I feel like we're still missing a lot of like everything else that has to do with Superman. But I also really like how they set up her bond with Peia and how they use that to try to get information out of her. Even though Lois has kind of a bond with her after all the chemo talks, she still wants Peia to confess about killing Moxie. And I really like how they deal with this, because this whole situation with Lois trying to connect with her about their chemo, then talking mother to mother, trying to get her to admit to what she's done, to set an example for Mateo. And I really like how they're playing that, because it's like two mothers. One is on the hero side and one's on the villain side. And the hero side's trying to make the villain turn good. And I like what they're doing here, because it set up a lot of interesting stuff between their characters, especially at the end, where Mateo helps her escape the DOD by giving her the cure to her cancer with the Bizarro blood. And the thing is, I totally thought she'd be turning into a Bizarro version of herself. That might still be coming. She might be turning into more of a monstrous character by the end of the season, with the new mix of different DNA. And I'm curious to see how they play this, because I thought after Mateo did that, she was gonna like start freaking out and turning into this creature. But that didn't happen. She ended up escaping the DOD really easily. But the thing is, she didn't kill anyone, which makes me feel like Peia's not all bad, where she's still a good person at heart. There's no point in killing all these military soldiers, because they're not bad people, unlike Moxie, who was a bad person. But me saying this right now, I bet you any money in a couple episodes, we're gonna see how truly of a monster she can be. But I feel like it's gonna be her son that makes her not so evil. And I also like during that whole section where they're talking about Lex Luthor as well, because they set up Lex Luthor again, talking about how much of a monster he is, how it feels like you're in the room with the devil when you're talking to him, and how he's the only person Peia is scared of, setting up this really big threat that has not appeared yet, and we're already 3 episodes away from the final. They have literally set up a trailer for Lex Luthor. We know he's coming. We've been teased this entire season, name drops constantly per episode, yet we haven't got it yet, which just confuses the shit out of me. Like, why don't we have Lex Luthor yet? Are they really setting up Lex Luthor for season 4 that we might not even get now because of everything going on with the CW? Like, I swear to God, if Lex Luthor comes in the final episode and there's a cliffhanger for season 4, I'm gonna be annoyed, because I want to see that shit now, because it sounds like he's gonna be one great villain. Also, Lex Luthor versus Superman is classic. But I also thought this episode really dealt well with the teenage drama, because of how Jordan and Sarah are kind of at this jealousy stage. Because after Jordan goes to a party, he sees Sarah talking to George Jr. He kind of interrupts, acting a little awkward. And even George kind of stumbles on his conversation because he doesn't want to say it in front of Jordan. And I feel really bad for the kid, because I understand what it's like to see someone you loved or that you really care about flirting with someone else. Like, it feels like you're losing that person. And it's like, that jealousy is an ugly emotion, and they're really showing it here, because of the fact that Jordan turns around and says, "I wish I never loved you," which is like, god damn, the drama. However, you know, Jordan's a good kid, because he turned around and saved Sarah and George in the end, and then Sarah covered his ass later when Kyle was looking into the mysterious powered person who's running around town. And I can't wait to see how they deal with Kyle's story, especially after the ending with him finding out the secret. It's so much that's gonna happen, because he's gonna find out that literally everyone he cares about has been lying to him. And I think it's gonna add a lot of drama, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they explore that and what they do with Kyle's story in the end. But there's no way he's gonna tell everyone. He's gonna keep it a secret for his family as well, but I'm curious to see how he reacts. I think Tyler did a great job playing Clark Kent during this episode as well, because he really felt like a dad. He wants to spend time with his kids, but his kids don't want to spend time with him because they have other plans they'd rather be doing, like Jonathan going to see his girlfriend Candace, which makes a lot of sense. And I like how they played it through this episode, because it's making it feel like the almighty Superman is an absent father. Not in the sense that he's not there for his kids, but because he's so busy being Superman, he can't always be available to do stuff with them. So he expects them to be available for him on his schedule rather than him be available on theirs, which I totally relate to because that's exactly how it's like in my house. And I love how they set that up later where Jordan goes around and saves Sarah and George Jr. And Clarke is proud of him, but as soon as he finds out he went to a party instead of going to the wrestling match with them, he gets mad. And I feel like it's more of Clarke reacting that his son didn't want to do stuff with him rather than his son going out to drinking. And also later in the episode where Jonathan came in and got yelled at because Clarke thought he was drinking and driving, and Jonathan just turned around and be like, I wanted to spend time with Candace that I never get to see, and you're never available. So it doesn't work that way. Making Clarke kind of realize that he messed up. I really like the father and son drama going on here too because it's relatable. It makes sense. Even though Superman is a superhero, Clark Kent and his sons is super relatable to anyone else with family. Now let's jump into the main focus of the episode because the main focus was Kyle's story and him investigating the mysterious powered person that's running around Smallville. At least that was the main story other than the Peia stuff, but we pretty much covered it because it was really easy to cover. She was talking to Lois, she got cured, she broke out of prison, and she went to go see her family. There we go. Oh, and I forgot to mention that her son is now an accomplice to breaking her out of prison. So there goes his future. But first off, I loved how Kyle's storyline started off with him going to Chrissy with all the photos. This could just be anything. This isn't proof because she knows who it is. She knows it's Superman and Jordan. So she's trying to play it off like she just can't expose them. And I love how this is just a trend throughout the episode because afterwards you have Jordan saving Sarah and George from them getting in a horrific car wreck that would have killed both of them. And George Jr. seeing Jordan. He's in his suit to be fair, but he still saw him. So Jordan has now been recognized and seen by at least one person, which means he's slowly becoming closer and closer to being revealed to the world. George turns around and tells Kyle that he saw someone. Curious, but Sarah denies. It's Jordan. What else is gonna happen? We're not just gonna give away Jordan. But after that, Sarah gets arrested, so Kyle has to go see Lana with Sarah to talk about who just got arrested and got a DUI charge. And I like how they played with this because as soon as he brought it up, Sarah kept denying it, and then Lana kept denying it. She's not gonna say it either. Her best friend is Superman. She's not gonna turn around and say that shit. So at this point, Kyle's realizing that everyone is lying to him. He can tell something's off because everyone's saying, oh, nothing happened. That is definitely not what you're seeing. And it seems super suspicious throughout the whole episode. And I loved how he goes to the Kent farm like, I know your secret, Jonathan. Come down here, I want to talk to you. Completely the wrong kid. He thinks it's Jonathan because when the Kent family moved to town, all this shit started happening, which is true. Jonathan was there at the fire where it turned to ice. And on top of it, he was at the party where his daughter got saved. And the only reason Jonathan is in the middle of everything is because of Clarke and Jordan. And I love how this set up with everything going on because Peia was breaking out of the DOD and Clark's trying to go see his wife. Kyle kept trying to go to talk to Jonathan. Clarke wouldn't let him. He's like, go home, we'll deal with this later. And I just love when Kyle runs up to him and he puts his fingers out and Kyle just bounces off of it, which makes Kyle kind of like stop and realize, wait, what's going on? Clarke is just so freaking annoyed at this point because he has to go save his wife who's in danger. We'll talk about this later, and just freaking flies off in front of him. And I can only wonder what Kyle was thinking at that moment because Kyle has known Clarke. He knows he's like this weak guy, but nope. Turns out he's the strongest man on the freaking planet who is Superman, who's just been walking around Smallville and hanging out with his family this entire time. And I just really liked the shock on Kyle's face when everything was going down because it was a great moment. I was wondering when Kyle was going to eventually figure everything out because literally his whole family knows except the youngest daughter, and I don't think she'd even care if she did. And I can't wait to see next episode how Kyle's going to react to everything because he's going to be freaking out, finding out his entire family was lying to him. Like, it's going to be a pretty interesting episode with a lot of drama, but I think it's going to be like the good type of drama. I never really liked Kyle's character at first, but over the years, his stories kind of got interesting with him having to deal with all the problems and trying to become a better person, and it's gotten interesting. I like it, and I like what they did this episode specifically with him, trying to investigate everything and then finding out Superman's secret identity, which I am intrigued to see if something bad will happen, because I totally thought last season he was going to die protecting his family. Now I have a feeling he might die this season doing that exact same thing. Unfortunately, these episodes seem like they haven't had a lot of Easter eggs, unless I'm just missing something. Because it's, at least from the last few, it seems like it's continuously just focusing on characters, not really going to the other DC universe kind of stuff, not referencing small things here and there. We're just plainly focusing on characters, which I like. It's a good written story, but I do love my DC Easter eggs hidden within everything, and it just kind of sucks that we didn't get enough of them. And I do wish we got more Superman. I just want to see Superman fight some more. But we are ramping up to the final, which means some shit's gonna go down, because that's usually what happens. Like, right before we get into the final, the last 3 episodes are really leading into it, and I'm intrigued to see what they do, because now that Peia has escaped prison, it's gonna be the Mannheims versus everyone, and I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. What did you think of this episode of Superman and Lois, and how did you feel about Kyle learning the secret identity? If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to see my other breakdowns, I have finished The Flash and Titans, but they're both linked in the description down below. And hopefully Doom Patrol starts soon so we can start watching that one once again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.